Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Torch Tales, Stories Behind the Hood. I'm your host, Frank Vargas, aka Traveling Frankie. You guys know how this works. I sit here, somebody sits there, we have a conversation. They just happen to be in the welding industry. And I find myself in Houston, Texas, and I was here as what I do, travel for business, and so I can put food on the table. And every once in a while, I'm lucky enough that I can run into people that are not only are in it, but are doing great in what they do. But I won't be the judge of that. You guys will be the judge of that once you guys see this episode. So first, I want to say thank you to this person because we've been trying to do this conversation for about a year.
Yeah.
She's a busy lady. So Sharon, thank you very much for saying yes, aka Miss.Welds. She is a rock star in the industry, but you guys know how these work. Of course, we'll touch on what she does now, but we want to really find out where she comes from, why is she here, and why were you crazy enough to pick the welding industry?
Yeah.
But no, that wasn't the question yet. I see what I told you guys. I interrupt my guests all the time. Before I ask you anything else, where did you grow up? Where are you from?
So I grew up here in Houston, Texas,
Okay.
specifically in the Crosby area. But I was born in Guanajuato, Mexico.
Okay.
I just happened to grow up here.
How old were you when you came over?
I was brought over.
Of course, because same thing for me. We didn't make that choice, yeah.
Yeah, I was brought over a little bit before I turned 2 years old.
Gotcha. Did your family really held your culture? Because I know you're bilingual. You speak Spanish, because I know
Yes.
I've seen both videos, both in Spanish, especially when you're ranting. Because you
Yes.
sometimes, you really get in like, I just want to complain about something, and you go in full Spanish
Yes.
mode. Yeah. So growing up in Houston, pretty much not knowing anything about Mexico, coming at 2 years old, how were you able and your family really hold on to the culture being here in the States?
I want to say that definitely looks different for me than what it looks for my parents, right? So I know sometimes they will be upset that maybe I'm not as Mexican as they want me to be, right? But it's just the way that I culturally grew up here.
The true Tex-Mex, yeah.
It's more Tex-Mex, the way I talk, the way I do things, the way I went into a non-traditional role. It's things like that that maybe they don't love, but they've accepted it. And I think I've had that fight with them where I'm like, well, why'd you bring me to the United States if you didn't want me to? If
it wasn't for the freedom, right?
I'm like, if you didn't want me to become a United
Whoever
States
I could
person,
be, right?
And so, I mean, for my first full, 26 years of life, 27, I couldn't leave the United States. I couldn't go to Mexico. I didn't know anything of it. So I didn't have a lot of influence as far as that growing up.
Gotcha.
It was
This
just
is the only thing you knew.
Yeah, it was just all my parents, pushing the traditions, the culture, on me. So yeah, I'm half and half, like you say, Tex-Mex.
Yeah. And what was the one thing that they thought you were going to be that once you picked the welding industry, they just went like, what? Who? Not my daughter.
I think at that time, this sounds so bad, but I don't think they had any thoughts about me doing anything. Like, honestly, I was very much just on pause in life, right?
Oh, really?
I wasn't really doing anything.
Until what age, though? Like, when did it click for you?
So it was in 2020 for me.
Okay.
So I was already about 23 years old, I think,
Okay.
at the time. And I already had 2 kids, and
Gotcha.
So, that I don't think they had many things that they were looking forward that I was going to do.
So you think like most parents, in-house, when you're not there, they're having these conversations. What is she going to do?
Yeah.
What I just, our daughter, come on.
Yeah,
right?
they're probably, thinking she failed, or,
right?
Two kids and didn't go to school, like this and this and that, like she wasted the time here in the United States.
Yeah, we made a mistake.
Yeah. So I'm like, maybe that's where they were, because they didn't really have, they didn't talk to me about what I wanted to do,
Gotcha.
what I could do, and they never.
Yeah, they're just so busy on the daily, just trying to
Yes.
survive, just like most people. That it's
Yes.
like, hey, everyone's on their own, kind of figure it out. But you, being so young, and 2020, 2019, when it really clicked for you, prior to that, and prior to having kids at such an early age, did it ever cross your mind of something that you wanted to pursue? Was there something that you liked, you just never got into it?
Yeah, so actually I had had a pretty big interest in welding since I was in high school, actually, probably since I was like 16.
Really?
Yes, because the high schools do the whole early college, and so I had a lot of friends who were going into the early college. I was going for pharmacy technician at the time.
Gotcha.
So I was aiming more towards like the medical. I failed, by the way, completely. Like I completely miserably failed.
Hey,
So
who hasn't?
yeah, but I would see my homeboys. They were going into the welding program, and I remember asking specifically one of them. I was like, hey, like, do y'all have any girls in your class? And he was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, there's some that like they even weld in their heels. Nowadays, absolutely, me as a teacher would never let that happen. But I always think back to that because I remember him telling me, yeah, like they come in and like they're welding in their heels. I'm assuming TIG or something. And I remember being like, oh wow, like I didn't know like girls, like in my teenage brain, right? Because like nobody had talked to me about this.
Correct.
I thought girls couldn't even register for it. Like it was like I was very like closed off.
It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. Like you just think it's such a male-oriented industry that's not for
like
me. Why would I even think?
Never once in my process of picking a career for my early college, nobody said, oh, would you like to try welding? So I thought like I think if it was more clear to me that there was girls there, girls could sign up,
Correct,
girl teachers, I would have been 100% more inclined to join. Like it just looked like a cool job.
Okay.
Like I was like, oh, that looks cool, because I think one thing about me is I'm really attracted to things that I don't know,
Okay.
So I'm like a curious person. So it was just like the fact that I have no idea how any of the industry and manufacturing and any of that stuff works, that I was like very interested in learning.
Were you artistic before, or do you consider yourself artistic? Because I think most people see you, or at least me as an outsider looking in, I'm not sure if I were to tag you, and I'm sorry to use that word, as a metal artist, metal fabricator, how would you consider yourself?
As far as art, I don't think I'm too artsy, to be honest. It takes me like a really long time to figure out, like maybe like I'm just blocks right now, I don't know. But I mean, definitely when I took Miss Emily, she used to be my teacher.
Oh,
so
she's
yes.
back there, by the way.
Yeah.
Thank you, Miss Emily. Yep.
So she actually is the one who taught me, and I did her metal sculpture class.
Okay.
And yeah, like the first sculpture I ever made was a cactus, and I think that's like to this day one of like my best pieces of work.
Really?
And so I think back then I was definitely more creative.
What process did you use, and what metal did you use?
I used MIG, and it was carbon, like sheet metal with round bar, and like, but it was
Gotcha.
like that was like the rules. You had to use specific things for the project. But that was definitely where that art part, like artsy part, came from. Outside of that, I don't think I'm super artsy, to be honest.
But and that's good that at least you know where your strengths are. So when you are 16, 17, and you go and check these out, and there's you and one or two other girls, versus 10 other guys or whatever, did you feel right at home at first, right off the bat? You go like, there's something here?
I did like it.
Really?
I did like it a lot. Like, well, because it was 16 when I showed interest in it, right? But I didn't go into it until I was 23. It was just like a life-changing
All right, then what did you do in between?
So in between, I had children.
Well,
yeah, I had, but
which is a very full-time job with overtime, not paid, by the way.
Yeah, but work-wise, it was just a lot of waitressing.
Gotcha.
Like, I did a lot of waitressing. I worked for like hosting and Chinese restaurants and this and that. A lot of just restaurants, fast food and stuff. And then, in between that time, I had 2 children, and then it was in 2020, like a very, like, I guess, specific life-changing moment for me was, like, my closest, bestest friend from whenever we were, like, children, she passed away. Like, it was very, like, out of nowhere, very suddenly,
So
from
that
heart
hard.
issues. Yeah, and I, like, I started, like, just pondering. I'm like, where is she at? Like, damn, life is so short, and this and this and that. And I started being like, I haven't done anything with my life. Like, I haven't done nothing that I want to do. Like, and I'm like, I need to work. And it was just kind of those things where it hit me, where I stopped, like, the fear kind of left my body of like,
what's the worst thing that can happen, right?
Yeah, so I was like, I need to do something. And yeah, like, what's the worst? I go to the welding class, I don't like it, I move on. Like, so that's where, like, kind of that moment in my life where I was just like very like philosophical because of like,
Such a mature woman.
yeah, and that was what, I was like, okay, like, I'm just gonna try it out.
So how did that happen? Like, you are 2020, 23 or so, and you go where to start?
So I called the one and only welder that I knew, which was one of my friends. He now owns his own fabrication business.
Okay.
So I hit him up and I was like, hey, AJ, like, I want to start welding. Like, what should I do? And he you know, he kind of laid out the options. Like, you could start off as a helper, or you could go to school. You know, like, those were like the main two. He's like, yeah, as a helper, like, you could grow pretty quickly. Like, you know, especially because he was like, especially because you're a girl, like, girls usually tend to get pushed up a little bit, maybe into the office and this and this and that. He's like, or you could go to the school. He went also to the same school, learned from the same person.
Really?
Yeah. So, and I was like, I'm gonna go to school. I decided to go with school because I didn't even know what welding. I thought it was just like fire. You know, I'm like, I don't know, like fire, like. So I was like, I'm gonna go to school. I'm gonna learn how to do anything. Like, I've never used a grinder, never used a wrench. Like, I've never used any tool in my life.
Yeah, well, you know, most women are not exposed to the trades or any trades, especially, let's face it, in Hispanic cultures. You know, it's not. It's
the most
just a
I
fact.
did was like hold the flashlight for my dad and get yelled at. Like, that
Here.
Was, yeah, that was about it. But like outside of that, I'd never like dealt with any of it. So I think I didn't want to feel like stupid, right? Like, I didn't want to feel like super useless, and I was like, I want to learn something. And so that's, you know, I registered online to the community college, and then I started my first class.
And then how long did that take? How long were you there on your second time around?
Okay, so on my second time around, I definitely was there a little bit longer than I initially thought I was going to be. Because initially I thought I'm just gonna learn, like, I had no idea. Okay, so like when I first started like school, I did not know there was different processes. I thought welding was just one thing, that's it.
You're gluing two things together with whatever, right?
So, you know, I started with like the basic combo certificate, which was gonna be stick and TIG, right? And I was like, I'm gonna finish it as fast as I can, get out, weld, make money, blah, blah, blah. But then, you know, I finished my TIG class, I finished my stick class. And then
and just when you think
like,
you know.
Yeah, and I was like, in what part of the program do I learn flux? Like, where do I learn that, what they're doing over there? They were like, oh, that's like a different certificate. That like added more to it.
Yeah.
And then I just got to talking with Emily.
You're getting all the kudos, by the way.
Yeah, she is.
Yep.
I got to talking with Emily, and she kind of explained to me that if I got my associates, there's a chance, like, in the future, after getting field experience, I could go teach for college. And that it was like, you know, kind of like a good way to kind of grow in the industry.
Gotcha.
And so I went for it. I was like, yeah, you know, I'm gonna use it. Like, if it works out for me, good. If it doesn't, like, and so yeah, I was there, I want to say, for a year and a half.
All right.
Because I had to also do academic courses.
Gotcha.
And I did a bunch of like blueprint reading, oxyfuel, the art metals class. I had to do basically the entire program. So it took me a little bit longer than it would take like a typical just welding certificate.
Do you regret any of that journey?
No. Even if I wouldn't have.
I know she's here. I know you're not going to say, because Gina's like, what? I thought you said you liked it. Yeah.
No. So even if I hadn't ended up in teaching, like, you know, I would have still enjoyed the process of getting the associates, because one, I did graduate from the college with, like, you know, my diploma and blah, 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 my associate's degree. And it was like, I was the first person in my family generation to graduate from any kind of college, to
Congratulations.
do any kind of So that felt just good on its
own.
own.
Are you kidding? Yeah.
So, you know, the little picture of me with my diploma, it's like hung up at my house.
Take that, cousin. Yeah.
Yeah. No, but my cousins, so I'm lying, like, it's inside of like my, like, from my parents. Yeah. But my cousins, oh, they're fucking smart. Oh. They are so smart.
Sorry, I'll take that back.
No, they are so smart. They're like scientists. Like,
really?
They're on a whole nother level.
All right, well, good for them.
So yeah, but I didn't regret it, just because I learned a lot of things, and a lot of those things did help me at jobs as well. So I don't regret it. I would have done it again.
That's awesome. And now, you know, and I'll jump to this question because usually I ask, but now, because you are a teacher, because you were a student, because you were in the private sector as well, when you were a student versus now you've been a teacher, what's the biggest misconception that you think students or teachers have about each other? Because now you have been on both ends.
So definitely, there's a lot of welding students who think their teachers are wrong. because they will turn around and ask a different welder or a different teacher, hey, what should I do with this? Or like and
After you've been given
everyone-
instructions or a class being taught, yeah.
Yep, and one thing I've learned a lot, especially from Emily, is that welding is not black and white. Like everyone can do the same exact job in different ways, and they can all be correct.
Yep.
So you know, like as a student, there was teachers that I was like, they told me to do that. That's weird because this teacher told me to do that. So that teacher doesn't know shit, you know, like, or they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Or I would go online, and online you see people telling you like, you know, just
of course.
You have misconceptions about your teachers themselves.
Yep.
And then as a teacher, or as more of just an experienced welder, you know that, you know, whatever you tell them, and I'll tell them, I'll be like, this is the way I do it, okay? This is the way I do it, this is the way. So, you know, I'm like, sometimes maybe they might be like, this bitch don't know what she's talking about. Like, I don't know.
After school, you were there for a year and a half. So now you are 24, 25 or something. And what was the first job you got now that you are actually getting paid to weld?
Oh man,
Uh-oh.
my very first job, I'm not gonna sound, I'm super grateful for the man that owned that company that even gave me the chance to take a weld test.
Of course.
Because nobody would hire me. Nobody would hire me. And I was jumping around in person, like from company to company to company, being like, do y'all need a welder? Do y'all need a welder? And, you know, or I would go in there and be like, hi, are y'all hiring? And the people in the office would be like, no, our office positions are full. And I'm like, I am not here in full welding gear to apply for an office job.
But, you know, it's two things. And because not only, of course, being a woman, second, being so young, and then at face value, because, you know, I'm like 6'6" in my mind, you know, you're so tiny that, you know, they see this little girl coming in, and they go like, no.
Yeah,
you know?
And I, like, back then, I would be offended. I'd be like,
Yeah.
You know, but now,
now right? Yeah.
Like, yeah, I look like, you know, like that. Like I don't look like what I thought I looked like.
Correct.
You know? Like, but so yeah, everybody was just like, no, or they would just be like, oh yeah, we'll put your number down here, and I'd never get a call back. And so it was a shop here in Houston, more towards Miller Road. The littlest shop, like I don't even want to say the name because I don't want to talk bad about it, but it was definitely a beginner job, and I was getting paid $16 an hour to do flux core, and it was so hot, and they had no pavement. It was just very like you couldn't even.
It was
drag.
so Texas.
It was like the most rugged, I guess, like workplace I had ever worked at. But it was like the first person who ever like gave me a chance.
And those you got to be grateful for.
Yes.
What do you think was, once you are in that wonderful building, what was the one thing from school that now you're working to weld that you go, holy crap, this is not like they said it was going to be, or this is completely opposite from what I thought this was going to be?
You know, I don't think I had any moments like that.
Oh, cool.
I think the one thing that did throw me off was having to learn how to read a tape measure. I didn't like all through school. We were just welding. You know, like, and then I got to a job, and they were like, oh, like when it was a little slow, and
here's the specs, measure. Yeah.
They're like, oh, look, go cut that piece, because it was like sometimes it would be included into fabrication when there wasn't welding to do. And so they'd be like, oh yeah, go cut that piece at 4 3/8, and I'm like, like
Google.
And yeah, like I had like, this is so embarrassing looking back, but I would tell them like, okay, 4 inches and how many little lines after that, like,
that's funny.
And like, man, bless the boy that was working with me, because he would be like 4 and 4 lines, and I'd be like, okay, cool, like.
Why didn't you say that from the beginning?
And so I had to like obviously learn how to do that, but that was like, I think the one thing that threw me off, because not surprisingly, but I mean the school I went to actually taught me a pretty good deal of like the machine, how to turn on the machine, how to change the wire, how to adjust my amps, how to torch cut, so there wasn't a lot of things where I was like, oh man, like how do I do that? So that's why I was like really grateful that I did go to school, because in that aspect I didn't feel useless.
And did they let you use a grinder right away?
Yeah, they did. Yeah. At the school or at the job?
At the job.
Oh yeah.
Because most companies, I mean, I guess because it was small, they, whenever a new person starts grinding, it's like, not yet. We gotta see, because I mean that's like 80% of the injuries or anything that happens is with a grinding.
Yeah, and that was, I did get my first injury at that job.
With a grinder?
Yeah, and I would say I was only there for a month.
Oh.
I was only there for a month, and I that was the first. I never even got injured, even at school. And at school, we would use a grinder every single day, you know, like to do repairs or whatever. But I was using the wire wheel, and my shirt was a little loose, and it caught my shirt and went like hit me right in the chest. I couldn't breathe.
Oof.
And I didn't even care that I was hurting. I was just embarrassed. I like and it was
that's a very not regular human feel.
Yeah, and it was the grinders that don't you have to turn them off.
Oh,
like they don't automatically.
Correct, yeah.
So it was just like they're like like stuck on my shirt, and I was like panicking trying to turn it off. And the first thing I did wasn't even worry about me. I was like, did anyone see that?
It's like, what's that red stuff? Yeah.
And nobody saw. So then I just like unwind it, and I'm like trying to catch my breath, trying to breathe. And then I'm like, well, I have to tell them because my shirt was like all shredded. And I'm like, I have to go and be like,
guys,
I need to go get another shirt. Like, but yeah, I was just embarrassed.
Do you think you are the best welder you could be right now?
I don't think that.
What process do you lack the most? Like, which one's your best process, and which one is the one that you still think, I really need to get my...
So here's the thing, right? So TIG is my best process, but
I knew that answer because I've seen some of the work.
TIG is also the one I need to work on the most.
Why do you say that?
Because my specialty is TIG aluminum. So TIG aluminum, you throw
So easy.
anything aluminum at me, and I'm like, I got you, easy.
Yeah.
Huge gap, tiny gap, thin metal, thick metal, I got it. But then when it comes to more delicate things, or with like stainless or stuff like that, you know, sometimes I do maybe have to learn how to control the heat a little bit better, how to do this and do that, you know, or the warping, or, you know, like stuff like that. Like stainless.
So your case is
a
backwards than most.
Yeah, and it's, I did work with stainless pipe for a while. So, you know, I'm like, but, and it was nerve-wracking to me because I had to pass full x-ray all the time and all of that. So that's one thing I feel like I can always like keep working on and doing better. But if I had a choice, I could do without MIG. I could do without MIG. I don't know. I think it's not as interesting to me. You know, it's like so easy, simple. Like I get kind of bored with it. I don't know.
How do you decompress from now teaching to being a mom and just enjoying your personal time, completely decompress from everything?
So I'm like, I don't know that I do that. I don't know that I do that because if I'm not at work welding, I am with my kids, and I don't think there's a lot of times where I just do things for myself.
Gotcha.
You know, so any free time, because my kids are so little, all the free time I get is like, all right, let's load up the bikes and let's go ride at the park and let's go to the beach, and you know, it's so to give them good experiences. But I'm a liar because me and my husband do go on vacations and we don't take them. For vacations that we do for ourselves, like when we went to Colorado, or we go to New Mexico, or we go like hiking in the mountains for 10 hours, and like we don't take them, and that's like always like, you know, I have to schedule something like that so I can have something to look forward to.
Of course.
Or else like I'm just like always like work, kids, work, like so yeah, I think yeah, like now I'm thinking about it, it would be like the vacations like me and my husband plan together. Those are always fun.
How many students are you teaching at any given class?
So usually it's 18 students.
And the semesters last how long?
The semesters last 16 weeks.
How many?
16 weeks.
Thank you, Echo.
Well, I'm like, because every class is 8 weeks, and the students have like 2 classes per semester. So yeah, like 16 weeks.
Gotcha. So if you really started full on in 2023 or so, is that what you said?
In 2020.
2020.
Yes, in 2020 is when I started.
When did you realize the power of social media to promote yourself as a brand? Because I know you have over 100K followers both on TikTok and Instagram, and and some of your videos get millions of views. When did you realize that power is there? When did you start? And third, when was your first post, if you remember, about welding?
Yeah, I remember my first post about welding. My first post about welding was a trend that was going on TikTok, where you would pose as like another picture, right? Okay. And I used pictures of old old timer welder girls,
Okay.
like welding in like the shipyards back in like World War, I don't know what. um, and so I used pictures of them, they're like posing with the torch.
Yeah.
And then it was me like replicating there, and it was like that was the trend.
Okay.
And that was the first video with like welding that I posted, and immediately like that very first video actually blew up. And I remember like just watching it go up and up and up, and my husband would be like, oh, if it reaches 500,000 views, like I'll buy you some AirPods, right? And boom, I got the AirPods.
Really?
And then it just kept growing. And no, it was if I reached 100,000, I'll get you the AirPods. And then it just grew to 500 and 600, and I was like, wow, like that's crazy.
What are you gonna get me now? A car?
Right? Like, so if I reach 1 million, can I get a car?
Yeah.
But so yeah, that was like the very first video I posted, and I didn't get like right away like the brands hitting me up and stuff.
Yeah.
It was maybe after like the 10,000 followers, which happened really quickly actually. And I just kept posting, and I would see all the girls message me like, oh my gosh, I'm inspired, I'm gonna sign up for classes and blah blah blah. And I was still a welding student, by the way.
Wow.
I was still like, I would do these videos and
Yeah.
stuff in my welding booth.
Gotcha.
And I remember also getting negative feedback as far as saying like, oh, watch until your future employer see what you do in your time
yeah.
and all of that. But my social media is actually what had landed me a lot of the jobs I got. So even like after I had the first job, the second job I was going for, I remember the office people talking about how they were like kind of back and forth between I should get hired or not, because they were like, number one, she's going to be a sexual harassment case. And number two, yeah, they're like, and number two, but on the other hand, like, look at all that she can do. Because they were
Yeah.
looking at my page. They were like, she can do this, she can do that, blah, blah, blah. Like, so they were like, she can do a lot.
Yeah.
But she's going to be a sexual harassment case. So, like, do we want her? Do we not want her? And I ended up getting hired. So I guess, like, my positives outweighed
The negatives,
yeah.
or their negatives, yeah.
Which is crazy, because I was about to not get hired because they didn't have faith in their other workers of controlling themselves. Like, I'm like, that's a whole nother topic.
It's
for
like,
me,
hey,
but-
I know who we have
Yeah.
inside these walls. Once you started going up in followers, that you went like, oh my God, like what number really surprised you?
I think like the 20,000 followers, like at that point I was like, oh my gosh, like this is so cool. Like, and then, the brands
You're like,
were
Mom, I
hitting me
made
up.
it, yeah.
Yeah, like the brands were hitting me up and trying to send me this and trying to send me that and this, and I was like, wow, this is so cool. And I would see like other girls or just people online that had like their 100,000.
Of course.
And I'm like, I'm never gonna get there. Like, I'm like, wow, but that would be so cool to do that one day. And then, yeah, by the time I reached 100, I was like, I was like, what? That's crazy. It's just like, I don't know. It's like crazy the way you can grow.
Do you think do you ever feel pressure or a responsibility in representing not just women, but new welders on the content that you put out there?
I do, yeah. So whenever I push content or I talk about certain things, I do feel the need to focus certain topics that young people who are trying to start into the field that they should know. Where I talk about, hey, you should be aware of this before you come in. Girls, you should be aware of sexual harassment. Or just anyone, hey, you should be aware of the exhaustion. Don't drive while you're tired.
Yeah.
You're going to be working. I do feel the need to push things out there that weren't pushed to me before. Things that I feel are very important to know before you enter this field. So yeah, I do try to be like very like aware of that.
Gotcha. And when it comes to welding, being a younger person versus old timers, I'm not even going to go on the women against guys. We all know that that's out there. So I don't want to entertain that and give that energy anymore, because we just got to fix that. But age gap. You're in your 20s. You go into a shop or you work for someone that it's in their 40s or their 50s or their 60s. Do they embrace you with open arms being a younger person?
Yeah, actually.
Yeah?
I have not had many cases where there's like the old man that's like hating on me, that's like, oh, look at this,
Yeah.
I haven't had that a lot. Good. Honestly. Like for the most part, like the older guys, they're always like ready to like teach me something, or they're very precautious, where they're like, don't do that, you're gonna hurt yourself, or
Yeah.
you know, like where I think they see me more as like the way they, or I hope they see me the way that they would see their daughters, you know,
Good.
like kind of thing. And a lot of those men were good men, didn't ever test me in any kind of way like that. There was instances, but that's, you know,
Yeah.
completely different. But yeah, a lot of them are very, and honestly, I do think a lot of it has to do with me being a girl, though, because there is other, at the same time, when I was getting hired, and then there was young boys also getting hired, and the young boys, they would be like, they didn't want to teach them. You know, they were like, oh, I don't want to spend my time teaching them this. Like, they should know how to do that. And you know, I'm like, so I'm like, I guess they were just more sympathetic towards me. I don't know.
No, I get it. I can totally see that, and that's a good thing. That's a great thing that regardless of the reason that you didn't experience, you know, those moments based just on an age gap,
Yes.
not based on, you know, on sex.
Yes.
Now that you've worked for private and you've used whatever machines they had there, now that you are at school and that you're teaching and you have whatever machines you have there, do you really think there's a huge difference on a super brand name machine versus a non-brand name machine? Is it let me put it this way. If you have a great welder that has an okay machine and you have a okay welder that has a super machine,
Yeah.
does that really make a huge difference?
No. So even like people who have their own, like my friends who have their own businesses,
Yeah.
they don't go for the super expensive name brand because it's money.
Yeah.
You know, so I've welded with their machines. You know, like they got the Everlast, or you know, like machines that are
Are not the standard of what
Yes.
people think, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
and I've welded with them, and I'm like, feel the same, like the same thing, you know, like it's not, and you know, and if I would have known that, I got a Miller, but
Yeah.
you know, if I would have known that, I probably would have went with something a lot less expensive as well, you know. So no, kind of, I even have a little Yes welder that Yes welder sent me, and
I know, I saw
kinda
you made a
runs,
video
yeah,
on that
like
one.
it
Yeah.
runs like it feels like the same as like my Miller, you know, like I would have to test both out for like an extended amount of time.
Correct. So if it
but-
lasts,
yeah,
you know,
yeah,
a year,
but-
2-3 years, yeah.
Yeah, but as far as like, you know, like simpler things, like there's a lot of machines that will do the same job as the bigger name brands, you know.
That's my opinion as well. But then again, I'm not going to call myself a welder. I will never give myself that title. That way I can say whatever the hell I want. Are you an ambassador for a couple of different brands?
So I do work, like I have a discount code, like commissions from Yes Welder, from, oh man, I'm like, they're all like slipping my mind, but the main one that I work with is the Welding Magician. That's the one, you know, we collaborate a lot. I think
Gotcha.
that's why I have more focus with that brand, because I get to have a say in what I like. Hey, like I like this, and can you do this, and can you add this?
Especially
you know,
for a women's
yes,
line, right?
Yeah. So with him, I've worked with a little bit more, since like he lets me have a little bit more say
Gotcha.
in what I want to collaborate with.
Have you ever gotten offers or brands that reach out for collabs that you have said no to?
Yes.
Yeah, based on what? I don't want to know which ones, but based on what do you say no?
I say no when they don't have something my size. Yes. So
Hey, that's a reason.
yeah. So you know, cause you know, they'll want to send me something, and you know, like pants. Like there's a pants brand.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, well, I don't see my size in your shop. They're like, oh, just order the smallest one. Like they just want to be like, order the smallest and kind of make it work and just post it. I'm like, but no, though, because then other girls my size
Correct.
see it and they think that it will be good
That
for
you're
them, and
promoting
I don't
that,
want
yeah.
to be, you know, like mischievous. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So there has been times where I'm like, hey, whenever you have more inclusivity, like hit me up, you know, like, and they're usually, because I'll be respectful about it.
Of course,
and,
yeah.
And they'll be very understandable, like, oh, for sure, like if we ever drop blah blah blah, we'll let you know, and it has yet to happen. But yeah, I'm like, yeah, there's been times where I'm like, no, or also like if I look through their page, and this is maybe petty of me, I don't know, it's like
You gotta feel a connection regardless of.
yeah, a cultural thing for me is if I go to your page and there is no inclusivity there, I don't see people like me on there, then I don't want to work with you. And so that's why I'm like, I don't know if that's just like pettiness of me, but I'm just like, man, like it's you have a very specific kind of person that you promote. I'm like, it's not me, so I don't want to work with you. Like, I don't know.
Hey, and that's what makes you who you are. You
Yeah.
have the right to say yay or nay to whatever you want. Where would you like to see yourself in the next? Because again, I'm 48. You're in your 20s still. Congratulations on that. Where would you like to see yourself in the next 5 and 10 years? Do you first of all, are you a goals person? Like, do you set goals?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then where would you like to see yourself in 5 and 10?
So it's kind of funny you asked me that because I had made a video today. It's in my drafts, but I have made a video today talking about that I had a lot of goals for me 5 years ago, which I have accomplished already, right?
Okay.
So now I'm like, so what's
Then
next,
you
right?
set,
And I think about, well, what are my next goals, right? And one of the things that first wants to come to my mind is like money, right? But not really, because I'm like, I think like my biggest goal is just my kids, right? Like to have my kids and work on being like the best mom I can be and make them happy and give them the best life that I can. But that's more personal, more career-wise. I would love to like have a go at my own brand, right? Because a lot of people tell me like, oh, you work with this brand and that brand. Like, how come you don't do something for yourself? And I'm like, that's a lot of fucking money. Like, that's a lot of money, I'm like, unless y'all are gonna invest,
right,
like hit me up. But definitely like, money-wise, I have a different standards for my money right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully in 5 years, I can put that first,
Gotcha.
like a brand, and because I did look into like trademark, LLC, and I'm like, I'm like, we'll see, but.
Well, I would say, registering a company, it doesn't take that much money. So you could just register the company, have it there dormant. Like, you don't have to activate it right off the bat, but at least it forces you to always know, crap, I have that in a drawer. I got to do something.
Yeah.
Because once you make one single step, a smaller step, it's always going to come back and just like, I'm here, remember? And it's only a couple $100s to just register, a company. So the social media, the names, if you're just going to go with the same names that you have already created,
No, I'm like, I have like already
ideas,
like, what I want to make, like the name for it, like what I want to, like all that was just in my brain. And then right now, like, me and my husband are very much in the process of like home buying, and so I'm like,
good.
That's where most of our money, because we're trying to prioritize like,
of course,
so I'm like, and
being an adult.
Yeah, and some could argue, well, like if you start your brand, you'll make more money, and but I'm like, yes, but I have to start because I'm almost 30. I'm like, I'm like, I gotta get going with the house. Like, I gotta finish it, paying it off at some point. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. Like, priorities right now, like it's usually my family is more at the top.
Got it.
And I guess I'm not as money hungry as a lot of blue collar people want me to be. So they might look at me and be like, oh, she's not doing enough. But I'm like, I'm sorry. I just want to like, I'm pretty content with my life.
All right.
So.
And I totally get that. Just don't ever get way too content where it doesn't.
I don't
like have that
either.
balance,
yeah,
right?
I don't like comfort either.
Got
I'm
it.
always like thinking like what I can do next, what I'm gonna do, what this and that, different ideas. I definitely like don't like being stationary.
Yeah.
But I very much do kind of enjoy like peace once in a while. Like, so.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Social media welders, for lack of a better word, and I'm sorry if you think I'm offending you out there, but because I've seen and I've stumbled into a few that I think the social media aspect of things have got into their heads, and that meaning that there's a few that sometimes they either social media makes them think that they are way better than they are, or they sometimes become a little bit arrogant. How do you stay humble? Because when you have 100,000 followers in a very niche industry, it's almost like having 1 million followers. Because we are just the welding industry, you have 100 plus, and you go in the welding industry here in Houston, you get recognized a lot.
Yes.
Does it ever get to your head? How do you stay, Sharon?
I don't think I'd let it get to my head. I don't, I'm like, I always just see like myself as like, oh, little old me. Like, I'm like, I don't know. I don't ever be like, oh yeah, like, I don't know.
Shit,
like, like someone's like, oh, can you sign my hood or something?
Yeah.
I'm like, me? Like that, like, why are you, like, that's weird. Like, why do you want me to do that? But I definitely, I guess what keeps me humble is that I know at any given time someone could call me out for a weld off, and I'm like, I'm like, shoot, I might need to get my hand back, and like, I don't know. I would love to see a lot of these, how you say, like social media welders,
Influencers, let's call them. Yeah.
in person, show off their actual like welding skills. And there's a lot of them that are great. Like there's like Kenny Stu.
Correct.
And,
Yeah.
Like out of the
That are
top, he's
actually-
like, that I see post their welds and like they work and they're like, I'm like, oh yeah, like he, or Dr. Welds. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, like stay away from
Actually,
me,
I just
right?
ran into him yesterday or the day before. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, and they're great. And there's some that are just like blah 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 blah. Talk
I know, it's like
shit
anyone
and-
can, edit a video and put the end result like, wow, that looks awesome. Yeah.
But
It
I'm
took
like-
you 100 tries.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. It's just never really gotten to me, I guess.
Okay.
I don't know. And
That's
I
fair.
love going like to these events and I think people, they're like, oh my God, like I'm so excited to meet you. But I'm like, I don't think I'm excited to meet you though.
Yeah.
Like, cause that's so cool that like I see you like, they'll tell me like, oh, I'm so and so who messaged you, and I'm like, oh yeah, I see you all the time.
Yeah.
Like I'm meeting you too. Like so I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't ever see it as
It's a
like-
mutual respect, yeah.
So I'm like, I don't think I've ever, been like, oh yeah, like I'm.
Yeah.
Like I don't
Look
know.
at me. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yep. Do you ever go to FabTech?
I have never been to FabTech.
What
no.
the hell? You're
No.
probably one of the most recognized welder in the industry through social media that has not been to FabTech.
Yeah, I know. I have never been to FabTech.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So,
crazy.
It's just the
I know, with kids and all
No,
that,
it's
a
not
long time.
even that,
Oh,
though.
really?
it's no one has ever invited me. Yeah, I'm like, there's like, so.
Yo.
So I mean, the welding magician did invite to send me out there and represent the brand and our collaborations
Yeah.
and stuff. It just didn't work out with my job, which honestly I maybe could have made work. It was just very last minute for me. But any other year, I know, no offense to the people who go and pay, right? I'm like, it's a very exciting event. But me personally, you will never catch me paying thousands to go to FabTech, just because I'm like, I've looked into it, like, the hotel costs,
Yeah.
the transportation,
Yeah.
and I'm like, as of right now, since I'm not a business owner, I'm like, I don't see myself investing thousands to go to FabTech, so I'm like, unless a company wants to send me out as from their part to represent, I absolutely would. I'm just like, right now, I'm like, I can't. I'm like, I'm too,
No, I totally get it, and I think I get both sides, because I've been doing FabTech for I don't know how many years, 12, 14, and I know, and I have run into both sides of that comment. People that think the same specific thing, which I think I'm more leaning towards that answer as well, if somebody was not paying for me to go or covering all my expenses. But I do have to say that out of another 50, 75 welders that I do know that go every other or at least every year for the last 5, yeah, they'll invest in taking vacation time from their personal jobs, and then yes, they'll go for 2-3 days, not the whole week. And I think every one of them has always said, I came out with more opportunities and more things that I think I'm going to be able to monetize, because at the end of the day, we got to put food on the table. It is what it is. And so they have somehow that it's not just about going out and networking. It's actually visiting booths and connecting with other brands and stuff like that. And so I get it, but I've seen the other side as well.
Yeah, and I totally understand that part too, right? Because I've thought about it. I'm like, oh, it could be, I'm network and I meet people and opportunities and chances. But I think that, like, for me, I like how I say, I don't technically have a business, right?
Yeah,
so,
correct.
So, like, the way I was seeing it before is like, I'm going to sell nothing. I'm going to buy nothing. Like, I'm gonna, I'm not gaining. And then for me though, it's also like, if I take time off work and I pay
I know,
for it,
it's a
and I'm
whole-
like, man, that stuff I could have paid for, my like family stuff that
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
to do. And so it's very much, and yo soy coda. So, I'm like, man, that's too much money. Like, I don't want to, so that I think that's the main thing. But I do definitely, like, I went back and forth. I'm like, well, it'd be good for this and this and that, but I don't know.
It's exposure. I mean,
Yes.
and again, it's something that you're still building your brand.
Always wanted to go, and I've always had like nearly going, like I think even the year before this one, my old boss JK John
Yeah,
King
yeah.
was gonna send me like with him, and, but
I know you guys were supposed to. He reached out and said, hey, I'm going to be at the. That was in Orlando or Chicago. I can't even remember which one. And he said, Miss.Welds is going to come. he mentioned somebody else and himself, and they wanted to do a podcast version or something
Yeah.
at the booth.
Yeah.
And then something happened that
I
you
don't
were no
even know.
longer there,
Oh, yeah,
you know,
yeah,
whatever.
I quit. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know what happened. I quit.
I do know what happened. You're not there.
Yeah, no, I didn't quit like that. Like, it was just, I had my teaching job.
Yeah.
That was like the career I had been working
Gotcha.
for. So, yeah, so it didn't work out. And, obviously he wasn't going to take a non-employee.
No,
but,
which it's a business decision. I
yeah.
totally get it.
Yeah.
So how does the end of the year looks for you?
This end of the year, well,
Did you buy all your gifts already? Are you done with?
no, I haven't even
So there-
started.
Oh, so
Haven't
so
even
I guess
started.
Amazon's going to be busy. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, I guess the end of the year is a lot of finals, grade submitting, final welding exams, and this and that, and students being like, "Why I gotta take a written exam when I'm welding?" It's like, but it's a college, there's rules, and so it's a lot of grades, a lot of this, and but then like I think the last 2 weeks were free, so
Nice.
then it's a lot of for me vacation, spending time with my kids, and just with my family. That's it. And and maybe some fabrication projects that I have like in my mind. Like now that I'll have
Like personal stuff,
yeah,
or
yeah, personal
do you
stuff
take
maybe.
personal jobs? Do you do anything?
I would if people asked me, but like nobody really like. People usually reach out and be like, "Hey, I have this thing," and I'm like, "Okay," like. But then, it'll never go through. I'm not a good seller, I guess. I don't know.
Okay.
No, outside of that, I'll just maybe sometimes do things, but for myself,
Gotcha.
or like for family, and like, oh, I made you this, or like Christmas gifts,
That's
stuff
pretty
like
cool.
that. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for saying yes for over a year now, and I'm just glad that I got to do it in person and not through video. There's so much more that you get, face to face,
Yes.
other than a camera, on the other side of the world. And I, just like you said, I'm a fan. Just like everyone else, we all have. I see your post. I see what you really mean to the industry, and that's pretty cool. Definitely without every one of us in the industry, one side supports the other. I make stuff that you guys use, vice versa. So I got to sell it. Somebody has to sell it. Somebody has to use it. Somebody has to make it.
Yeah.
So we all have this circle of life in the welding industry. And I think, you do really good at what you do. And I want you to come get a cameo here. Come here for a second. Yes.
Get an
It's-
Emily appearance.
Yeah.
She's like, do I get an appearance fee?
Yes. Yeah. Right here. I just wanted to say thank you to you as well for promoting the industry, for teaching people like Sharon, and making sure that the industry stays alive. How long have you been doing this?
I have been in welding for over 20 years.
Over 20 years.
Yeah.
And very short, but how was your start?
I actually I went to join the military,
Okay.
and I had tattoos, and George Bush had passed a law saying no visible tattoos in industry. So when I was riding home with my dad, I looked up it was downtown Houston, and they had these giant sculptures, and I was like, oh, I want to do that. He's like, what? And I was like, I want to create those things. He's like weld? And I was like, yeah, that thing. So
Yeah.
he actually knew some of the instructors and had talked to one of the department chairs there, and he's like, we don't have any female welders. We'll give you a scholarship. And so there you go. And
Well-
that was it. And then I realized that welding was art. It's painting with metal. And so I loved it.
100%. Well, thank you. Because of people like you, the industry stays alive, and now people like Sharon is paying it forward. We all know that teaching is not just about the money. It's not, right?
100%.
But you gotta feel it. You gotta have that love for just passing down that knowledge and just saying thank you to, and just showing gratitude. So thank you. Yeah. Thank you again for what you
I'm
do.
like, thank you for inviting me and then re-inviting me.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Well, I'm a good sales guy. I don't give up. I just keep coming back until I'm told get the out of here. Yep. But guys, you guys know how this works. I'll keep saying yes, because if they say yes, who am I to say no?